And hello and welcome to everybody who is joining us on YouTube. I'm just going to get my slides up and then we're good to go. So bear with me while I share my screen. And get my slides. There we go. So hello and welcome officially. Tonight is the last part of our 4-part look at Office 2016 Preview 1 for Mac. And for those who don't know me, I'm Elaine Giles, trainer for a long time. Also currently present the MacBytes podcast. And back to PowerPoint. So just a very brief overview because most of tonight is going to be a demo. But PowerPoint 2016 is part of the Office 2016 for Mac preview. So this is the first brand new version of Office for 5 years. It will be with us at some point this year. The latest rumour has it at October, and the rationale behind that is that's when they're going to release Windows 10. Not that that concerns us Mac users greatly, but it would make sense to be the biggest launch Microsoft have had in many years. So just to remind you that what you will need to run it in terms of hardware is very minimal, to be honest. A 2007 iMac is the oldest machine that will run it. But the problem with that is if you took that hardware that was that old and you put the other requirement with it, which is Yosemite, then it would slow down. It doesn't need the very latest version of Yosemite, which is 10.10.3. It will settle for 10.10.2, but that is still quite a severe requirement for software in terms of old hardware. So I'm using a 2013 iMac with 32 gig of RAM, and it's not bad, but it is a preview and it does have its little quirks. So as we go into the demo, you will see some of these quirks. We've had great fun today with some of its idiosyncrasies, shall we say. I'm hoping the shipping version won't have all of them. So let's have a look at some of the features new to the Mac version of PowerPoint in this version. So I have got PowerPoint open and I have the file open dialog here that we have. Normally when you go into this, it will take you to the new area. And again, you have your templates. It's a very limited range of templates. More templates are available online. And as I've said with all the other applications in the Office suite, I'm fully expecting this to have an integrated search added to it before it's released to enable you to search online for templates as well. You can still create your own templates and you can download templates and purchase templates from anywhere else and use them in exactly the same way as traditionally. So it's just this dialog box that is waiting to have the supercharge added to it. We have also talked about the services, which you will find under your avatar, because the whole thing is driven by your Microsoft account. And when we set it up 3-4 weeks ago now, when we looked at Office in general, I went in there and I configured all my services. And that is still there. They have rippled through to all of the applications. Doesn't matter which application you set up those services in, they are available from all the Office applications you have on your Mac. And that is not limited to Word, Excel and PowerPoint. It is all of the applications. So if you have OneNote on there as well, you will be able to use the same services in there. So I am logged in. I have attached to my services, and these are the services that we will be using. You also have this recent view, and you will see in there that I have been working on various things this week in there, and they are all available from the recent. Then you can open your files. And when you go to the open section of the dialog, you need to choose a service first before you can actually open files from that service. So initially it links to OneDrive, and that's your personal OneDrive. If you have a business OneDrive, that is also available there as well. And I've said if you have SharePoint sites, you can connect to those. But a lot of people have their files on their Mac, and when you select the option to use on my Mac, that does give you a completely different view. So it has completely vanished. It is thinking it through and it will then give you a completely different dialog box. The frame on this dialog box, the black area, you may not have. That is an application called Default Folder, and that's something that's on my Mac. Normally, when you flick to the local files, this is what you will see, a standard dialog box that you're used to seeing. If you need to flick back to your online locations, you have that button and that will take you back to. So I'm going to start completely from scratch here. So I'm going to go into the templates there. And just because we're just going to basically have a look at a few of the options in there, it doesn't really matter what I choose, but I will choose something that has got some kind of graphics in it rather than just the plain white one. So this is the new interface. Again, it has done away with that faux ribbon that they put in 2011, and this is a genuine ribbon. If you have used PowerPoint 2013 for Windows, this will be instantly familiar to you. Now, within here, one of the things that I've very seldom seen anybody using an Office suite, particularly in PowerPoint, go into the preferences. But there is actually a few good reasons to do that in PowerPoint. So I'm going to go into the preferences, which is PowerPoint preferences. You can also do that with Command and comma, and that will take you in here. And at the moment, I'm hoping that what they've done in here is strip out everything that's not working and that they do intend to put it back. Because by comparison to the options that are available in 2011, these are incredibly minimal. If we just take a look at the save options, there are only 2 options. In the options in 2011, there's a whole page full of options for saving, and some of them are incredibly important. They affect the quality of an export, for example, and that has just completely vanished. So hopefully they will add it back. The reason I have specifically gone in here is in the personal settings, there is user information. And I installed this and I told Microsoft who I was and I logged in as me. And it still hasn't set this up properly. So if you're wondering when you come to share and collaborate and you're commenting why it's not commenting correctly or why it's not saving it with the correct information, then you need to go in here and actually put your information in. So I will do that. I'll put that in correctly. And before anybody asks, the K is for Karen. That's the truth, honest. So I've done that, and you can then say you always use these settings, or you can leave it to the account. But I'm going to fill that in and make sure that information is there. There's other things in here that you may need to come into to fix, to be honest. So if we look at things like edit, one of the things that drives me crazy is smart cut and paste. If I'm copying it from one place, I might want it as plain text or something like that. So you may need to turn that off. And one of the others is things like autocorrect. I always find in certain applications, I try to type iPhone and I put in the small I and the big P and it corrects it and flips them round. So I've got a capital I and a small p. So if you're having problems with that, you have got all of this control available from the preferences in there. So lesson learned of that, don't ignore the preferences. Do go and have a look at them. There's quite a lot of interesting things in there to look at, and hopefully a lot more of them in the future. So this is, we've created this from scratch. If you've used the old version 2011, you're not going to be lost in here. You can instantly do things like add new slides, and you have all of the available layouts to choose from. You can duplicate existing slides and change your views and all those kind of things. So for this one, if I put in one with 3 columns for the next slide, that is exactly what I will get, and I can just carry on working with that there. Now, what I'm going to do is open up one I created earlier, because if I sit here, all I'm going to be doing is making slides to make this make sense. And that would be no good at all. So I'm going to close that file down. Don't need to save that. I have one that I've saved locally, and I will open that one up. And this is actually the presentation that I used. Let's get that on the right screen. Opened up on the other screen. This is the presentation that I actually used when we did the very first session of this 4-part webinar series. This was the original presentation, and if I go down here, you can see I've also got notes in here that I used to remind myself of everything that was included and everything else. So this is a real presentation. In fact, this one was converted from Keynote. Who's ever done that? Who's done a presentation in Keynote and then needed to create a PowerPoint version for it? Who's done that? Because it usually works reasonably well, and I do say reasonably well. Brownie point, very well done, Charlie. Charlie has. Brownie point for anyone who can give me one thing that doesn't translate well. Just one. you. And that was a problem that I had when I take a Keynote file and try and convert it. This one looks as though it did remarkably well. But I'll move some of these slides and show you, it didn't always end particularly well. So we've got animations. Animations translate unless there's no equivalent, and then you're right, you lose them. The font choices can go awry. One of the ones that annoys me the most is masking. In Keynote, you can mask a file, an image. And let me just show you what that looks like. In here, this is a slide, and it had two graphics on it as far as I was concerned. And I shouldn't have a problem transferring two graphics between the two, should I? But I did. The Windows graphic transferred fine, but the Mac graphic didn't look great at all. So what I had to do was recreate the slide. But if I just move this, I can show you what it looked like when it came in. Not the best. Right, it's like that. This Windows graphic is absolutely fine. It's a graphic and it's just 4 squares. This one is a PDF and it was masked. I masked it around this first Apple logo and it looked great. And obviously you can see it did not look great when it transferred itself. So I fixed it like that. So that's the first problem. If you're bringing things into PowerPoint, be aware of what works and what doesn't work. You'll have trouble with certain types of graphic. You will have trouble with if you've colour matched an element, you might find that the colour is fractionally off, or it could be completely worse. So let me show you what actually happened with this presentation. So I have another presentation here. This is the original one, and if I just show you the difference here, this is the one that I've opened, the one that says no sections. And this one is the original one. Now you can see that the file size difference there is huge. The one from PowerPoint, the one from Keynote that converted it to PowerPoint is 12 meg, and the one that we're looking at now is 48. The reason it's so different, the reason it's so much bigger, is that I have created graphics of some of the slides and dragged them in, and they alone were a couple of meg each. So that's why there's a huge file difference. But if we just try opening this one, which came straight out of Keynote, you can have some of the fun that I had. I'll leave that there and open it from there. Otherwise it'll open it on the wrong screen. That's something it keeps doing as well. Yes, this is what it said. Microsoft PowerPoint found a problem with the content. So I'll zoom in over that while you read. PowerPoint can repair the file. If you trust the source of the file, click repair. Well, obviously, I'm the source of the file, so I trust myself implicitly. So I clicked repair, just to see what it would do, really. So it started opening it. Now, I don't think that file is actually damaged, but previously it would probably have either choked on it completely or opened it and not given me any indication that there was any problems. So what this one is saying is it just couldn't read some content, so it removed it. So be careful if you do this, it could actually just be missing. So check the presentation and see if it looks okay. So this is the repaired one, and this will give you an idea of how it looked before. Yes, the first slide looks grand, doesn't it? That was just a graphic. I have no idea why that did not come through. It was just a graphic. This one is an exact copy of the first slide, only this one's much paler. There's the one where the graphic didn't work, and I think further on there was other things that were missing. It didn't do bad. That one was annoying. The actual image off the iPad vanished, but a lot actually came through. So it's doing a much better job than it used to. Even those ones with 3 bands came through. The ones down here, these ones came through okay. So it's doing a better job. So in terms of opening and repairing, it didn't do a bad job there. So that's something to be aware of. If you get that message, that's what it means. Right, I'm going to close that one down and go back to the one that's actually right. And one of the great new features that they've added is sections. Now, in a presentation like this one, mentally I have sections. I have an intro section in my head. So this is the first slide, and my intro I would consider to be part of the intro. So I would say in this one there's probably only the 2 slides there that are my intro. Then I start talking about currently what's available in Office. So this is like my positioning area. So I would consider that slide, and that one. And actually looking down here, maybe even some more. Probably that one which is saying it's available for both platforms, and this one that's saying you get 5 installs. So slides 3 to 7 would be my positioning slides. Then I start talking about a Microsoft ID, so then I'm going into another section of the presentation. So I think you know where we're going with this. If you were in Keynote, you could indent these, but there's no way to actually name a part of your presentation. So if I was doing a presentation about the whole of the Office suite and I had some information about PowerPoint and some about Word and some about Excel, it's actually quite difficult to visualize that information and move it around as a whole. I can move groups of slides, but it gets messy, potentially gets messy. So what they've added into this, which is available in 2013, you can add sections. So where you now have new slide, so that for a long time, that is still available there. And you'll notice here that when I say add new slide, all the ones that you used to get, the ones that you saw in the templates, they're not there, but these are very different. They don't even look like they match. They are from Keynote. They are my master slides from Keynote. So they have actually translated really, really well. So I can create new slides. That's no problem. It's this one here, which is create a section, that's the interesting one. So I'm going to add a new section to my file. And it prompts me to name it. And it offers me untitled section. So that's going to be, I'll call that positioning. So I'll put my positioning in there. And somewhere in here, it has put that, and it's probably shoved it right down the bottom. Where have you gone? You've put it, there it is, it's disappeared there. It's taken it from the slide that I'm on, it's included that one, and then included everything else after it. So if we look back at the beginning, we now have default section, which includes the first few slides, the slides up to slide 7. So I said in here, this was actually my positioning at 3, but I'll call this the intro. So I'm going to do exactly the same again and add another section. And this one I'll call intro. And that's all there is to doing that with sections. But what does it give you? What benefit does it give you? Well, you should be able to see there, if I zoom in, there is a control disclosure triangle. And if I click on there, it will fold up my presentation and leave me with discrete sections, which is brilliant for organising it. When you've got a section and you know you've finished it and you're still in your preparation mode, you don't want to be seeing slides that you know are fine. You want to concentrate on the ones that aren't. So if we go back into here, we can carry on doing this with this presentation. I talk about OneDrive here, and I talk about OneDrive a lot. So I'll carry on and add another section for OneDrive and call that OneDrive. And then down here there is a demonstration. I go into, well actually then there's this one about services, isn't there? This is how the services work. So I'll stick another one in there for services, and then I'll put one in for demonstration. So there's my services section, and a little bit further on, there was a lot about services, wasn't there? Oh, installing. Yes, that's a point, isn't there? There's an installing section. So this would be, that would be the first one of my installing. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm using this particular view. But if what you're doing is sectioning off your documents, it can actually be better to use the slide sorter view. And what this one gives you, some of those thumbnails look very pixelated. Oh, they're jogging along now. It actually sections off right the way across the application interface. So if I fold these up, you get an even better way of working with it. So there's all my OneDrives and there's my services. Here's my installing, but there is my demo. So with that selected, I can go and insert another section for my demo. So call that demo, and there is another section. So I can now fold up this installing section and concentrate on my demonstration. So just the fact there are sections available makes it so much easier to work with it. Now, in terms of just creating them, they're actually useful for more than just, as you've seen at the moment, sectioning off bits of your presentation. Because what you can do with this is you can reorganise it. If I decided I want to talk about services before OneDrive, all I've got to do is pick up that section and drag it up. Now at the moment you can see it's a little bit finicky. Get it in the right place and drop it. There we are. So services is now before OneDrive. And if I decided I was going to do the demo at the beginning, I could take that up there too and put that straight after the intro and then do the positioning later. So it's useful in terms of creating your presentation, but at the point that you're deciding about delivering your presentation, you can also use sections to rearrange them. Now, if you decide, like my intro was really my positioning, and what was my positioning? That was my Microsoft ID. What you can do there is rename a section. So you're not stuck with it. You can go in there and you can put your Microsoft ID, and I can go and find the beginning of it, which was in here. Positioning, so I can rename that one. And then I can create the default one that it made for me. And it made that default one in it took the slides that were prior to me creating the first section. Okay, so we'll rename that, and that one was intro. Right, okay. So Gary's saying those sections are also in 2011. They are, but they've certainly polished them up a bit, and they are now the same as they are in 2013 for Windows. So what they're trying to do here is get a common code base and have the features rippling across. We discussed that, I think we discussed this in relation to the entire suite, which was they want all the features to be identical across every platform and then add extra features by installing plugins and add-ons. So that's why they're trying to make it right across the board. So they now work in the same way as they do in Windows. Okay, they've also added some animations and transitions. Who uses animations and transitions? I don't use them except in very exceptional circumstances. But who actually uses them, and what do you use them for? Is it to bring in bullet points one after another, so to focus attention, or is it for that pizzazz? Or maybe you're exporting it to a video and you want those animations and transitions in there. Oh, Grant says no. Don't do that. I don't do that, and I don't do that for a few good reasons. It makes it difficult to presentation from Keynote to PowerPoint and PowerPoint to Keynote, and virtually impossible to make a PDF of it that's useful. So I also think at the point of delivery, you don't know what kit you're going to have. Sometimes an audience really appreciates that kind of animations, and other times they don't. They don't at all. So I don't use it unless it's an absolute exception, an exceptional case. But a lot of people do. And as I said, one of the key uses for it would be video. Because you can use PowerPoint and Keynote to make lower thirds for your video or animated intros for your video. So that's a real good use of animation to save you buying Motion or After Effects or anything like that. So let's open up a file that I have here, which is this animation one. In fact, possibly this wasn't the file. I'm thinking the one called Road was the file. But let's open up this one and have a look. It's thinking about it. This is the file I think Mike damaged today. Oh, it is. Yes, jolly fun. Right, okay. What we have here is just two slides. The first one has no animation on at all. The second one does have animation. You can't really see much of a difference there between the two. How do I know there's animation? Well, next to that, underneath the slide number 2, there is a tiny, tiny star, right? And that means it's got animation on it. Now, I'm going to show you this animation. Don't laugh. It's a good demo, honestly. Right, I need to run this, which is Shift and F5. So I'm going to run that presentation. It's thinking about it. And there it goes. Now, it's not doing anything at the moment, but if I click, it will start to animate and the little car will bounce along the road. I know, that's dreadful, but it proves a point, doesn't it? You can animate. So let's see how we do that. All right. I'm going to the slide that's got on at all. Now, when you're animating, you need probably to see more of the slide, because if you look over on the right-hand side, I can't quite see the edge of the slide. So what I'm going to do is Command and minus And what that will do is it will make that actually no, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing it in here. So let me make sure I've got this selected, and you should be doing that. That's better. I have to have that selected and it zooms me out. So Command and minus zooms me out. Now the only problem you've got here is you can't actually see the slide, but I'm going to show you that the slide is behind there. So this graphic, which is the skyline, is actually just covering the entire slide. So there it is in the right place. Then there's just a graphic of the car and the caravan, and that's all it is. It's just a graphic. And the road, that's just a graphic as well. So all I did with that was actually drew it and then just put them into place. Got that hanging slightly off the slide. And there is no problem having things hanging off the slide. So if what you wanted to do was have this start on the slide, you could do that. I'm actually going to have that starting off the slide. So we'll have it there. And that's why it's important to be able to zoom out. And that's why Apple copied PowerPoint and made the Keynote slide centered in the last version of Keynote. Because prior to that, you could not get to the left-hand edge of the slide or the top of the slide. But important because the slide becomes your animation canvas and you need to work around that to have things appearing from it. So it's really simple to animate something. You have a whole animations tab there. And if somebody wants to have a think about, while I do this, what's the difference between an animation and a transition? Because they both involve moving things, but in different ways. So you have a think about that. It's an animation that I'm going to put on here. And you have various animations. You've got 3 distinct groups of animations available from the ribbon. So if I hover over the first lot here, these are when something appears. So you've got when something appears, when it disappears. But this doesn't appear or disappear. It actually moves, and it moves in a certain way. So that's what we're after, it moving in a certain way. So I've got it selected. I'm going to go to Path Animation and click the drop down. Now, when you first run PowerPoint and you have not animated anything at all, none of these are selected. So you see what happens as I move over them. One of the quirks with the beta is once you have selected something, it keeps that selected and doesn't let you draw it. So the trick is, if I come in here and say I want that to move in an S-curve, and then think, no, I don't want that to move in an S-curve, and I come back, the S-curve's selected. So make sure, if you want a different one, that you have selected the one you want. And the one that I wanted there was Draw Freeform. So let's show you that, Draw Freeform. So I've got that selected, make sure it's selected. My cursor changes, it should change into a crosshair and it will give me that Draw Freeform. So just to show you some of these things that you can do here. And I start with it where it is at the moment, so we'll have it about there. And I'm going to draw bounces. Doesn't have to be precise at all, just draw bounces. And what I'm doing is, as you can see, the end, I have to press escape. And once I've pressed escape, it gives me a path. And you've disappeared. Where have you gone? Oh, there we go. Right. So my shape is here. This line that we've got, and I'll zoom in so you can see it, that dotted line is the path that I have drawn. So bouncing along that road. And then the road is just off the slide. But the car and caravan are going to carry on off the slide. So we should probably have a look at that. But be warned, it'll be really because the default is incredibly fast. So let me get that running. Come on, that was definitely Shift Command and F5. If you're not going to play ball, I'll have to go and click on a button, won't I? Slideshow, and actually show it. There we go, play it from the start. So the slide appears, but the caravan's not there. So I'm going to click once. Oh, and it was that fast, blink and you would miss it. Right, that's the default. That's the default in terms of speed. So we need to alter that, and that's done via this animation panel, which is brand new. There was animation before. You could do exactly what you've just done, but you couldn't control it in the same way. So it's the controlling aspect of it that's completely new, and again, it matches PowerPoint 2013. So we have effect options, and we have timing, and they're all available with this list at the top, which is your actual animations in the animations panel. Now, it's got the start running on a click, and that's why nothing happened until I clicked it. And then there's the duration, and that was the problem. It only took 2 seconds to get from one side of the slide. And we know when you've got a caravan, you should not be speeding. So we need to slow it down. In here, you have 5 options from very fast to very slow, which is 5 seconds. But even 5 seconds for an animation like that probably isn't enough. So let's go back in and play that again and see what 5 seconds is like. So again, nothing happening until I press mouse button. And yeah, it's still a little fast. You wouldn't think so, 5 seconds, but it is. So what you can do, once you've got it selected and you've selected your animation, which is this one here, you can come into there and at the bottom, you can decide. So I'm going to set that to 10 seconds. So you can choose a custom option at the bottom. You can also delay that if you want the delayed start, and you can have it repeating itself. So if you wanted it to do it twice, you could do that. So let's set that up like that and go and play it from the start again. So click to start it, and now it's going to go along in slow motion, and off it goes, and hopefully it will repeat itself. It may need me to click that though. Are you going to repeat yourself? That looks like another slide to me, but it's repeating itself. There it goes. Away it goes. So you've got more options when it comes to animation. Now for something like that, that's not actually a bad use of animation. What I don't like is when you've got the text flying in from all over the place and stuff like that. I think if there is a reason that you're showing something moving, then it's a better use of it. And as I've said, something like that, that could be the beginning to your video podcast, Introduction to Caravanning, couldn't it? So you could use that for motion graphics, if you have all day to sit there and play with it. But what greater joy is there in PowerPoint than sitting and playing with it? Right, did anybody make the distinction between animations and transitions? Did we? You're all that... Gary did. Right. Transitions are slide-to-slide effects like crossfades. Animations operate within a single slide. Spot on, Gary. If you want something happening between slides, you need a transition between those slides. The animations all take place on an individual slide. If I'm doing animations where I'm moving things or things like that, I actually do tend to prefer transitions rather than animations. Any idea why? Now this is to do with, as Grant was saying, when you make a presentation. When you actually deliver a presentation, if you use animations rather than transitions, you have one particular problem when it comes to actually delivering that presentation. Apart from good taste. Which is, if you have a slide and it's got lots of animation on it and you want to make a PDF of it, it puts every element and every animation into that PDF. One slide, and you can't read it. We actually had somebody once who did a very good presentation about email spam, and they gave us the handout, and one of these slides, literally the animation was endless. It must have gone on for 12 minutes. And when the slide was printed to PDF to hand out, you couldn't read it because it was just text on top of text on top of text on top of text. You couldn't see it. If everything is on separate slides, it makes a fabulous PDF. But I said at the point of delivery. And at the point of delivery, you will get that person who says, can you just go back 2 slides? And when you do, and then you try and get back to where you were, you have to go through all of the animation again. So it's actually easier to have everything on separate slides, which leads us nicely to transitions. Now I'm going to use the other presentation, my office one, for this because I need more slides. So what have we got in here? Services, there we go. We've got lots of slides in services. So remember, transition happens between 2 slides. So on my transitions here, these are the transitions that you've got. And there are some new transitions. And I think for presentations, they're probably a little bit over the top. But for videos. They're actually quite nice. The new ones are within the exciting category, which is fantastic. There are some in here like Shred, Vortex, Switch, Flip, Gallery. They are in the old version, but the icons look different. But they are still in the old version. But there are some that are not, and you will have here these ones: Fall Over, Drape, Curtains, Wind, Prestige, Fracture, Crush, Peel Off, Page Curl, Aeroplane. We've got to see Airplane. We've just got to. The origami one's new, and there's also one called Comb, and the Comb one is new. So all of those are new to this version. And I'm going to go crazy here and put one on each one. So we'll put that one, which gives you a lovely little preview. You can see the screen jumping a bit. The screen is probably jumping because I've set my iMac to 1600 by 900, and the iMac doesn't like being set to 1600 by 900, not one little bit. I'm going to put the next one on there, so let's bring in the next one, which was Drape. Oh, we've after a Drape as well. What does that one look like? Oh yes, hangs down nicely. And then just carry on putting each one of those new transitions in there. So the curtains one, I actually thought the curtains one had potential, especially if you're releasing a product or something like that. Don't shoot me, I didn't put them in there. Microsoft think you want them. But when you create a video from them, they're actually quite nice. So we'll put Wind on that one. Dodgy name. Dodgy name. But one that does work well with that, the curtain one, is if you have a slide that is just maroon. Because with the effect added to the top of it, it looks like curtains. It's animated curtains without you doing a thing. So we've done Wind, haven't we? We've done Prestige. Let's put Prestige in there. And just keep going here. So onto the box slide. And onto the next one, which was after Prestige, which was, no, it was Fracture. So I'm going to put quite a lot of these on here. That's a good one for when something's broken. You can see it does take a couple of seconds to apply it. So this isn't me being slow, this is it catching up with me. So onto that one, we did Fracture, we'll do Crush on this one. And we'll do about another 4 more, and then we'll see it. Then we will actually see it. So up to there, and down to the next one, which is Peel Off. Always want to avoid the peel effect. Oh, absolutely. But we'll put it there anyway because we want to see what it looks like. There we go. And we've got about the last 2 or 3, I think. So show me that drop down arrow. That's the one. And we've done the peel. We've got 3 more to do. We've got the full page curl. Oh, even worse. There we go. But when you think about how hard that would have been to do in a mobile application, it's there. I don't suggest you use it on every slide, don't suggest you use it on every presentation, but every now and then it'll do. It will do. So let's go to the last one. There is actually a nice one in here, and it is there in the old version, but it is a nice one, and it's one that, so let me go to that last one, and I'll put this one in. It's not new, but it's quite a nice effect, and it looks great on video, and that is Honeycomb. And there's 2, there's Honeycomb and Glitter. I'll go for Honeycomb. Right, so I've now got 12 slides with 12 transitions on them. So let's have a look. Let's get that playing. So slideshow and play. Play from the current slide and away you go. Oh dear. There we go. There's the first one. So that's the fallback. I should ask you, that one was Drape, I think it was called. I should ask you to name these now. There's the curtain one, which works fantastically well with a single coloured slide. And that one, was that Prestige, that one was called? They've got some odd names. That was the pull up. And I should press the left mouse button, not the right. Oh, don't know what that one was. Let's go back and have a look at, because there definitely should have been something there. Oh, there you go. That was Fracture. So away Fracture goes. Oh, aren't these fantastic? They work better on video, honestly. You don't want to sit through a presentation with lots of different transitions, unless it adds something. I think that plane should be slowed down, and the origami bird as well. But you get the idea. So all of those are new, apart from that Honeycomb one. But I think the Honeycomb one works on video, like I said. And then you just get back to how much faster it is, isn't it? With no transitions or animations on it. Which is the best way for it, I think. But People do like them. They like them. Right, so on to the next thing. Having done all of that, you're going to want to present this. So you're going to need a presenter's view. Who uses presenter view? Now, I do use presenter view. I use it extensively. We've got Mike uses it. Yeah, Mike uses it. But I fight a losing battle with presenter view, I'm afraid, because they don't seem to understand what I want in a presenter view. Which screen blanks out and how much control you've got over it and all the rest of it. And every application is different. Now, what you've got in PowerPoint is it treats a secondary device as the presentation device. Now, that's fantastic when you plug it into a projector. When I'm plugged into a secondary monitor, which I am right now, and I can actually show you all my monitors later, but when I'm plugged into it, I want to present the presentation on my main screen, which is the screen that you're looking at now. But I do like to have a presenter view. So Gary's saying no access to presenter view. Oh, that's sad, that, Gary, because presenter view is really, really useful, actually. So what I'm going to show you is presenter view is available from within the slideshow. So if I go into presenter view there, doesn't look much different to you. You're still seeing the slide. But I have a secondary screen to my left, and I'm seeing what is known as presenter view. And what I'm going to do so you can see it is I'm going to flip the monitors. I'm going to swap them over. So now my secondary screen is showing me the full slide, and the main screen that I'm sharing with you is showing the presenter view. And this is it. This is presenter view. It is much more friendly than Keynote. It's got a lot more features than Keynote, but it could be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to allowing me to customize it. But just to give you a few ideas what you can do here. You can, of course, choose to use the slideshow, and what that means is both screens will show the slides. The swap button is what I have just used to switch over what is shown on which screen. So you can do that in the middle of the presentation if you need to. You've then got this tips button, which if I click that, on the wrong screen, but it gives you all of the shortcut keys you can use in presenter view to look like you know what you're doing. So you're not sitting there in the dark with your torch trying to look at your keyboard to press the W key. It actually tells you there what all those are for. So they're some really useful shortcut keys to use. Just to give you a couple, there is B for black and W for white. Now if I press W for white, you can see that the preview here in the top left does go white. And if I press W again, it goes back to how it was before, and black does the complete opposite. What you would also need to see, if I swap my displays back again, is that doing that blanks out the entire screen with either black or white. So it's the technical way, when I used to present and we didn't have that option, that you would put your notebook in front of the projector and you would cover it, you know, when you're checking your mail and stuff. So this way it's automated in a way. You've got the shortcut key there. You also have the thumbnails at the bottom, which you can navigate with. So if you want to miss out some slides because you're running out of time, you can do that too. You don't have to present sequentially. But if you do want to present sequentially, then you can just use these forward and backward buttons here. So I'm going to get back to a slide with some text on it, like that one. You can pause the presentation here, which you would do if it was automatically running, or you just wanted to stop the timer. So I'll leave that running. You have the next slide. So what we're looking at here is the slide that's currently on the screen. And the reason that that is here in presenter view is because the slides might be behind you. And there's nothing worse when somebody's presenting than having them constantly looking over their shoulder, looking at the slide. What's the current slide? Not looking at the audience, they're looking behind them. So just trust that what's there is being shown on the other monitor, the other screen to your attendees. Then you have the next slide. So that's telling me that the next slide that's going to come up is all about Yosemite. So I know what to expect, because there's also that rabbit in the headlights moment when a slide appears and the speaker obviously has no idea what they meant to say at that point. So you know what's coming. And as you move through, that gets updated too. Now, an even better way, this one, is you have some tools available down here, which are you can navigate from there. You've got the pencil, you've got the note one, and you can move forward. So those are the options that you have there. So just to show you how these work, this pen is useful. The moment it's set to automatic, you can have the cursor hidden or an arrow, or you can use a pen. So I'm going to use a pen and draw on there. So you can actually draw on that. Now I'm drawing here on the preview of the slide. I'm not actually drawing on the slide. But if I just swap the displays, look what happens. As I was drawing that, it was also appearing on the slide on the projector or the secondary screen. So that's a fantastic use of that. That's something that Keynote doesn't actually have. They'll add it one day. You can also change the colour of that if you need to. So down to the pen, you can change the colour of the pen. So if you wanted that pen, and I don't want it white, do I? But I'll have it blue. I can draw on that with different colours and draw around it. Now, I tend not to use that either. And I might tell you why at the end. If you can think of why I wouldn't do that, put it in the chat and we'll talk about it later. So that is the presenter view. And over here, one of the really useful things is you can see that says there, click to add notes. But if I go to one that's actually got notes in it, great news for tinkerers, both versions can happily exist, I can actually add to notes that I've already got. So I might need to tell myself to update this slide. That I need to add something to it, and I can make a note and it doesn't affect my presentation at all. My presentation carries on, nobody knows I'm typing, nobody can see what I'm typing, but I'm actually updating it as I go. So if you're making notes in a presentation and you don't use presenter notes to present with, it's a great place to take notes. You don't have to keep coming back and going back to Evernote or something like that. So that is presenter view, and it is completely different to 2011. If you've used 2011, you'll know that there is a broadcast feature, and that isn't in this version yet. So we're hoping for improvements there. But now, in here, I've got, that's my presenter view. But when I'm presenting, I have other options other than presenting on the machine that I've actually got. So what I'm going to do with this presentation, and it's probably a terrible one to try doing it with, but I'm going to do a save as on this. And I'm going to upload it to OneDrive. And the reason I say it's a terrible one to do it with is because it's almost 50 meg. So my audio will probably die a sad death to do this, but I'm going to click on Documents and just put it in my Documents folder up on OneDrive. It's my personal OneDrive. So I'm going to set that to save, and it will chug away with its little self. And hopefully at some point, I'm beach balling at the moment, at some point it will save it up to OneDrive. Now, that means that's like the virtual pen drive that you don't have to carry with yourself anymore when you're doing a presentation. You've got it in OneDrive. You can pull it down from OneDrive. So I'm going to close and minimize that one. And I'm going across to OneDrive. And hopefully my file will be in OneDrive at some point. So while that's thinking about minimizing, I'm going to refresh OneDrive and then bring it onto the screen and hopefully be able to find it. If I sort by date modified, that would help, wouldn't it? There it is. Fantastic. So here's my OneDrive. A little bit big for the screen, so let me fix that. There is my file. Now it's saying at the moment 0 bytes, so I probably need to give it a little bit of time, but I'm not going to do that. Let's see if we can do this. So I'm going to click on there to open it, and let's see what it makes. Oh, it's not there yet. That's the problem. So I'm going to have to give that a little bit longer to do that. Let me see if I've got a different presentation that I could use that with. It doesn't have to be a lot of a presentation. A little bit of a presentation would do. Always dangerous to open one without knowing what's actually in it. Could be anything, couldn't it? Could be my personal collection of George Clooney pics. Who knows? It says Smart Art. With a bit of luck, that's exactly what it'll be. Are you Smart Art? Oh, excellent. Right, there's something there. Right. This presentation lives on OneDrive. It's in the cloud. I've been able to open it in PowerPoint Online, and from here, I can actually work with it. So without opening it to edit it online, you can do things with it, including start a slideshow with it. So let me see if that other one is there yet, because if it were, there would be more slides and more to see. But it might take a little bit of time to... Oh, that looks hopeful. That looks hopeful. Don't die on me now. There we go. So it's opening that one up. That's good, because this one will be better. There's more slides. So what I'm going to do, I'm pointing out it's not even open for editing at this point. All right. In fact, it's not open at all, is it? Never mind for editing, but there we go. Right, can't play the media. How can I play? I'm not going to worry about that. What I want to show you here is that without even opening it to edit it in PowerPoint Online, you can start a slideshow. So if all else fails, or you get there and the worst scenario for a presenter, it's the wrong version of PowerPoint or it isn't PowerPoint at all, then just open it up in a browser and present it in the browser. You can take the browser full screen and no one will know the difference. That's also a good point when it comes to thinking about where you put your speaker's notes, because what this view doesn't have, it doesn't have any speaker's notes. But I can click through my presentation. You can see there's a couple of font issues, but I can click through my presentation. It isn't even slow in any way at all. There is my presentation. And it's not bad at all. It's not got full fidelity, but in an emergency, you can actually do that. And that is in a separate window. The original one is behind it. So I can go back in there, and if I need to make an emergency edit, I can choose to edit it in PowerPoint if I've got PowerPoint installed, and if not, I can edit it in PowerPoint Online. This will then open it up in the online version of PowerPoint ready for editing. That is free as long as you have your Microsoft account. And again, it's taking a little bit of time with this one because there's lots of graphics in it. Normally, I would say that presentation is probably about 75% bigger than it needs to be. So I'd reckon an average presentation would be only 25% of that size. If it were, then when it comes to time to open and edit it like this, it wouldn't take half as long as that. So there you go. You can actually open it up in there. And you now, that looks so similar to 2016 now. And you get your notes in there, the full bit. All of that is available as well. So that's another option that you have. Now, one final thing, which could be argued it's not totally PowerPoint, but it is. It is done the right way. Okay, how many of you use whiteboards? I love my whiteboard. I have a physical whiteboard. Despite the fact I've got every software application known to mankind, I also have a physical whiteboard. But I also have a virtual whiteboard. So why am I talking whiteboards? Well, I'm going to show you the app first, and then I'll show you why I'm talking about whiteboards. I also promised you that I'd show you my 3 monitors, didn't I? So let me do some jiggery pokery here, and I will show you my 3 monitors. Because what I'm going to do is connect my iPhone to my network. Well, I would be, only it's misbehaving. Oh, don't you love that? Let me turn the Wi-Fi on and off again and try and get it working. I need to AirPlay it. And it's just saying AirDrop at the moment. So are you connected to the right network? Yes, you are. You're just playing around with me. Don't make me use a different one. Come on. It's not letting me AirPlay. Where's the AirPlay control? Tell you what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to love this. I'm going to actually turn that off. Okay, I'm going to talk about whiteboards while I turn it off and turn it on again. Oh, I'm my own tech support here. Right, so I've turned it off. I shall be turning it back on. Whiteboards. Oh, that's a good use of a whiteboard to use as a projector, because so many people I see have those fabric ones and then they get a Sharpie and write on it and it doesn't come off. So yeah, whiteboard's good for that. Very, very good for that. But my whiteboard is physical and I do like to work things out on it, and I like the fact that I can erase stuff from it. But then, of course, I want it digital to be able to share it. So I take a picture of it. And I can annotate the picture. But it is just a picture. It's probably a JPEG or a PNG. Probably a JPEG. So it's a dead whiteboard at that stage. Anything I add to it doesn't get added to the original, obviously. But nor is the original editable. So it's for that reason that I have a virtual whiteboard. And I will show you my virtual whiteboard. It's opening up now. Here is my virtual whiteboard. This is an application called Desk Scribble. And it is what I whiteboard on. And what you're looking at there is not squiggles. That's actually a project I'm working on. And trust me, it means something to me. And I was trying to explain something to Mike, so hopefully it means something to him as well. But what I needed with that, I can, from this application, save it as a graphic. So I can go into this app and I can click here and say export as file. I can even share it to Facebook, share it via the cloud app if I wanted to. So I could save it as a file, but remember the problem, it's a JPEG and I can't edit it. That's the problem. Okay, so there is my whiteboard. So you're looking at my whiteboard, and what I'm going to do now, no, I've decided not to share that. That's better. Right, let me see if this is playing ball. Ah, yes, you are playing ball now. Fantastic. So it did need turning on and off again. Right, let's turn that on. And you should be seeing my iPhone. Fabulous. Right, we're getting somewhere now. Right, I'm going to use this new app, new Office Lens. So I'm going to turn it on, and it looks like a camera, doesn't it? There's my YouTube control room, and there's my iPad, and there's all my monitors. There's one monitor, that monitor there, this one up here, that's the main one, going all the way across to the other one over there, which is controlling YouTube. So there's all my monitors. Okay, now I don't think you're going to be able to see this perfectly without me unsharing it. So I'm just going to show you that at the bottom you've got photo, document, and a whiteboard. Okay, so what I need to do with that is to hold it up like this and take a screenshot of my whiteboard. But obviously, while I'm sharing this, I don't think we can see my whiteboard. Now, there's my whiteboard, and I'm still holding the camera and I'm still pointing it at my whiteboard. So I'm going to take a picture of that, and then I'm going to lose my whiteboard so you can see it. And there is a photo of my whiteboard. So this is on my phone. And you're thinking, yes, but it's still just a picture. I know, bear with me. So all I've done is taken a photograph of my whiteboard. For me, it is actually just a fact that my whiteboard is virtual, but it wouldn't matter if it were real. If it were real, it would work in exactly the same way. I have a photo of that, and it's perfect. It's cropped it perfectly. Everything with that is perfect. So I'm going to tap done in the top right hand corner, and then I'm going to save it. And I can obviously export it here to OneDrive, OneNote, Word, PowerPoint, a PDF. I can mail it to somebody or save the photo to the photo library. What I want to do is send it to PowerPoint. PowerPoint. And what this is now saying is it's processing that. It's an Office Lens document, and it's processing it up to OneDrive, saving it as a PowerPoint file. Once it gets up there, I'll be able to open it, and I'll be able to open that in PowerPoint on my desktop. But I can also open it in here. So if I tap on that, it will actually take me out to my virtual PowerPoint, and it's downloading it. It shouldn't be that big, but we'll let it download, and it will actually open up that file on my phone. Now, you can see I've got 3 slides at the bottom. Let's have a closer look at that. There's the first slide, there's the second one, looks the same, and there's a greyish one at the end. Okay, so that's what we've got. To see this better though, I'm going to go back, lose this, so out of that. No, we don't want to go back into Keynote, do we? We just want to lose that. So we will take that out of the way. So we're in PowerPoint, and we need to go up to open a file. We need to open it from OneDrive. So OneDrive Personal. I think we had it in Documents. And within Documents, we have a folder called Office Lens. So I'm going to... And within there is the file. That's the one, and it's a PowerPoint file. So I'm going to open it. And it will take a couple of seconds as it downloads it. We're hoping to see 3 slides. And we will see 3 slides. Honestly, we will see 3 slides. Come on, you're faster than this in rehearsal. There we go. So we have 3 slides. Not perfect, but not far off. Right, this one, and it actually tells you what it is. it says it's an image converted by Office Lens to PowerPoint vector objects. So you can copy, paste, resize, or change the colours in PowerPoint. Oh, wow. I love that. That means that my whiteboard is now digital and editable as vector shapes. Just to show you what the other ones are, this one is the image that was taken with the camera, with the background, so that's transparent, but it is now just an image. That's just an image. And the third one is the photo as it was taken. That was just a cleaned up image. And it is completely dark in this room as well. So literally it just took that off the screen of my computer. But this one's the interesting one. This is the one that I can work with. So for a start, the top bits there, they're all rubbish. I don't need those. So I can just click on individual bits of that and delete it. So can I draw around you lot? Get rid of you all together. Don't need that. Now, one of the things down here was that something like that one, we have a closer look, it was black and it thinks it was brown or a maroon colour, and it wasn't. So if I go in there, I'm editing this. So I can format the shape, and it will have that set to a colour over here, which I can change to black. So just change that shape to black. And it's thinking about it. It's struggling, but it's thinking about it. Come on. I definitely said black. Don't crash on me. Don't you dare. Well, while it's there you go, it's gone to black. And this one is green, and it shouldn't be. That one should be black as well. So go back over there and choose black. It doesn't have to be black. Decide that this is critical, and I want to draw somebody's attention to it, and it was black in the original, then that's where this is fantastic. Now I can make it bright orange. And I can carry on editing this, and I can annotate it, I can comment on it, we can edit it, we can collaborate on it together. I could share this now and carry on working with something that the only option I had prior to this to save it was a JPEG. So that's a brand new application called Office Lens. It's been available for quite some time on the Windows Phone platform, but it's now available in all its glory on iOS, and it really is amazing. I love that. I can see me working with that extensively. So let's go in and wrap up. I've gone 2 minutes over. I'm naughty. Okay, so that wraps up our look at Office 2016 preview, but it's only preview 1. And we are very quickly heading towards preview 2, because there will be another preview within 60 days of the original release, which will be by the first week in May. So we shall meet again when preview 2 comes out. In the meanwhile, if you would like to download preview 1, you can get that from aka.ms/Mac2016 preview, and it's completely free of charge. You do need a Microsoft account, but that is all. So we have covered Office and its theory and lots of other things about Office, and that video is available on demand now on YouTube. We looked at the mobile platform, we looked at cross-platform compatibility, how to install it, what all the services were, and a whole lot more. The Word one will be available soon. If you missed that, we covered sharing documents. We did the document structure, we did the new style options, we did the templates and how the dialog box works for that. And then last week, Mike covered all the new things that were in Excel, and he had lots to cover. And yes, the stuff was mainly in 2013, but the whole look and feel of it and the way that it now works is much more integrated with the Windows version. And tonight, we also covered PowerPoint, and we looked at the presenter view, which is all completely new. Looked at some of the things that were already there and how they've improved them. The new transitions, which are great for video, don't think so for presentations, and all of the rest of the things that we have seen tonight, including the new Office Lens. So if you would like to see these videos, you will be needing to go to macbyteslearning.co.uk, and you will be needing a MacBytes Learning community account, which is free of charge. If you don't have one of those, you will need to go to that URL, which is macbyteslearning.co.uk/macbytes-learning-membership. And that is the key to you accessing all of our training. So just to remind you, I've been Elaine Giles. You will be able to find me all over the internet as Elaine Giles, but especially my blog, elainegiles.co.uk. And you can always ask me questions on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, etc., etc. So thank you very much for attending. We're going to head off into Q&A in our chat room. And if you are with us on YouTube and you have questions, put them below the video or contact me in any of the ways that are on there. And I will see you next time.